5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Please do not change channel.
From Krypton Radio, brought to you by Famous Faces and Funnies and Off the Chain with Yvonne Mason, it's the Hanging with Web Show Radio Hour, the Internet's premier pop culture talk radio show. You're tuned in, you're logged on, and now your hosts, G.W. Pomacher and Christian Basil. Who are you hanging with?
Hello, Krypton Radio. Welcome to the Hanging with Web Show Radio Hour. I'm G.W. Pomacher.
And please keep your hands and arms inside the podcast at all times and wait until the vehicle comes to a full and complete stop. I'm sorry. This is Christian Basil. How you doing there, folks? Welcome, World Wide Web. Welcome, Krypton Radio.
If you do not take that advice, you will end up like Christian, hanging on the outside of the podcast, just hanging on the It's something,
with dangly bits and parts.
Oh, boy. Well, it's another week on Krypton Radio for the Hanging with Web Show Radio Hour. Christian, what do you think, man? We did it. We made it a month, man.
We made it to an entire month?
We made it through an entire month.
Well, I lost a betting pool on that one anyway.
I see. So did I.
Episode too.
And we're going strong. We're doing great. We're bringing some great topics and some great people. Today, after we hit the news a little bit, we're going to talk about fan fiction and pop culture, the relationship between fan fiction and pop culture today. And we've got an all-star panel packed.
Yes, we do.
It's fantastic. It's fantastic. See what I did there?
This bus is fully booked, so.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, you know what, guys? You've met Christian. You've met me. We're gonna go on over. Sage, say hi.
Hello, everybody.
Yeah, Sage is gonna read the news for us. Can you do it in one of those 1-900 voices? Because we get more. we'll get more. So.
Yes, I can read the sci-fi news just like that. How about that? Okay. We actually have some very exciting things happening in our sci-fi pop culture world this week. Black Panther has finally relinquished its box office smash #1 spot.
I saw that.
Yes.
To another sci-fi film.
Yes, Pacific Rim.
Uprising. That's right.
Yes,
Uprising.
that has taken over $28 million on its opening.
Not bad.
So Pacific
it's a good
Rim,
weekend.
Followed by Black Panther.
Hey, Christian, could you live on $28 million in a weekend? Could we?
Maybe a weekend.
Maybe a weekend?
Would it be this weekend or next weekend? I could.
It could be Sherlock Gnomes, which is #3 in the box office right now.
Sherlock Gnome. Really, #3.
#3, Sherlock Gnomes.
Which is a sequel, by the way.
Yes, to Romeo and Juliet.
Romeo and Juliet, that's right, last year. So that's where we are. And we got another sci-fi on that list, too, don't we? Don't we have another? We
do. We have Tomb Raider is #4.
Yeah,
at the
reboot, Tomb Raider reboot.
Yes, $24 million.
Not bad.
Okay,
Not bad for
I'm only going to say this because Chris Berry from Red Dwarf is not playing Hillary, so I refuse to watch. Sorry. I'm just a geek of Red Dwarf, so if it's not Chris Berry in that role, I'm not watching.
Well, and I'm just trying to figure out my, I Tomb Raider, when it first came out, I was not a gamer, so I wasn't familiar with the Tomb Raider world. I just saw Angelina Jolie and went, so that, but.
What a guy.
Yeah, well, what are you going to do? Doesn't maybe a bad guy, just a guy. So what else is going on in the world?
Well, I have a little bit of sad pop culture news. We have the passing of sci-fi horror actress Debbie Lee Carrington.
I read that.
At 58, she was known for Total Recall. She was Thumbelina. She also did stunt work in Child's Play.
Yeah, like 3 of them.
Series.
Like 3 different. Yeah, she was. Wow, 58 years old.
Yeah.
Wow. That's very sad. She'll be missed by a lot of fans because even though she did a lot of stunt work and behind-the-scenes work, she was still, really out there and a good spokesperson for the sci-fi community and the horror community especially. So she will be missed.
She certainly will.
She will be missed.
So and to brighten it up, I have some silly news. Joe Dempsey, who plays Gendry from Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
He was actually talking about his new Fox show, Deep State, and he mentioned that he got his script for Game of Thrones Season 8, so he did confirm that he is coming back, and he is horribly afraid that he's going to let something slip.
Because he's got a script.
Yes.
Like, they didn't, remember the old days they used to, the Star Wars scripts, they used to, do it on colored paper so that you couldn't photocopy it.
Well, he only has his piece of the script, but at least we know he'll be returning for Season 8. Who knows for how long?
So, anything? What else is going on? There's a bunch of shows coming.
There are. The premieres are coming out. We have some brand new
Kristen,
stuff.
we're going to have so much homework. The best kind of homework in the world. What do we got?
Actually, we'll start with one that's tonight, Thursday.
Thursday night, yeah.
Sirens, which is on ABC. Yeah.
Creepy dark mermaids.
Very. They have like shark teeth.
I don't want to mess with a mermaid with shark teeth. That's just wrong.
No.
I'll never go to SeaWorld and look at the same way ever again.
Like we're not talking about like pretty redheaded Ariel kind of mermaids, right? We're talking about like
not the cosplayers, no.
They're going to scare you. They're going to scare you for 2 hours. It's a 2-hour special at 8 p.m. on ABC. So that's tonight. And then we have a whole bunch of stuff. The Crossing is also coming to ABC, which is a futuristic sci-fi drama.
What is that? It's just a futuristic. You don't know?
Crossing.
The Crossing.
Yes.
Oh wait, I saw an advertisement for that. That's crazy looking.
And the little girl.
Yeah.
Who comes up? She goes, "Oh, I'm escaping the war." The guy's like, "There's no war," and she goes, "There will be."
Oh, thanks for that.
Yeah.
I hate those creepy little psychic kids.
That's it.
They always kick off bad. What else is going on?
Hey, Legion is returning to FX.
That's a brain. I can't say the word on the radio. Yeah. No,
Really?
that's a messing with your head.
Mind F, is that what you're looking for?
Yes, it is. It's a
okay.
And it is the first. It took me 2 episodes to figure out that I liked it because it was just 2 episodes of. I had no idea. I was inside the head of a schizophrenic, and I was starting to feel a little schizophrenic. It was just making.
Really?
Yeah, it was crazy. I was inside the mind of Legion, who is a multiple personality version of Professor X. Really.
And each version, each personality that he has a different power.
And a different, like in his mind, a different body, and it can be a different gender. It can be, so it's just all these people in his head, and we don't know which one is him. For like there's 2 episodes. You're like, it's just crazy making. Anyway, that's coming back on the 3rd.
Okay.
So
are you ready for this?
Yeah.
Danger, Will Robinson.
What?
Lost in Space is getting a reboot. It's coming to Netflix.
Really?
Yes.
I've got so much mixed emotions about that. I just maybe because the movie left a little bad taste in my mouth. I was like, you better get this right.
Well, the movie was an attempt to do something in 2 hours that took seasons to develop on TV. The benefit, I think, of television or Netflix in this case is long format storytelling. You have time to tell an over-arc, and then so episodic TV gives you that advantage. And Netflix they might divide it into several, it in one big story, but it usually is, one big story that's broken into self-contained episodes. So,
I've missed the Slee Stack. Don't you want to see what Netflix does with the Slee Stacks?
Lost in Space is not Slee Stacks.
Oh, that's the other one, isn't
it? That's
Land of the Lost.
Oh.
Sorry, and
which I'm still not forgiving Will Ferrell. I'm still not forgiving Will Ferrell for that one. I'm sorry.
No,
that was
horrible. Well, I think the problem with Will Ferrell wasn't that I didn't like the movie because it was funny, it was cute. What I didn't like was I didn't see it coming. I was looking at a Land of the Lost movie, and what I got was a Land of the Lost parody, which I would have been okay with.
Yes.
I would have been okay with that if I'd have known it was coming. The other Dark Shadows did that to us. Remember Johnny Depp and they made it seem like they were doing this great Dark Shadows, reboot, and instead it was a parody. And I don't mind a parody, and they're funny if I know if that's what I'm going to see. But if I'm walking in to see Barnabas Collins, and I'm walking in to see The Land of the Lost, and I'm walking in to see these shows, I'm not going in for a parody. And so you need to warn me up front, I think. So. Is that it, man? We got anything else going on?
Well, that's almost it. At the very end of next month, season 2 of The Handmaid's Tale comes out on Hulu. They just had another teaser trailer.
Dark dystopian future, amazing. Yeah, Kristen.
No.
I thought we lost you there for a minute. You kind of came in.
No.
That's the end of my pop culture updates.
That's the end of your
pop
culture updates.
Yeah.
You're gonna stop on Handmaid's Tale, right?
Ooh, yeah.
Dark.
Find out what Offred's doing. Actually, if you look, they now no longer refer to her as Offred.
Oh?
It's June Osborne. They gave her name back.
Oh,
in the
all
credits.
See, and I think I was enthralled the entire first season. I couldn't get enough. It was. When we first discussed watching the show here, I didn't know. It didn't strike me as the typical sci-fi fare. And then as we watched it, and they created this horrible dystopia.
Woman, take your power back.
No doubt, man. It was something. It really was. Okay, well, that is the sci-fi news and updates for what's going on out there in the world. Thank you, Sage, very much. We appreciate that.
Boodaloop. You're welcome.
All right. So it gave Kristen and I something to talk about, and now we have homework to do. I hate she's like a teacher. She talks, and we have to do homework. Why?
I have a ruler, too.
But this is good homework, though.
It is. It's the most fun homework ever. They had the best job on the planet. I really do. It is. So we talked about some of these new sci-fi shows and some of these things that are coming down the pike. We talked about things that are out in the theaters right now. But tonight's episode of the Hanging with the Book Show Radio Hour centers around a phenomenon in pop culture and sci-fi fantasy in particular that is not only growing in popularity, but has really, I think, helped to drive what was niche culture into the pop culture imagination, because it fills every little hole, and that is the idea of fan fiction. No matter what your fandom is, I promise you there's probably some form of fan fiction out there for it. And we have a panel of folks here to discuss fan fiction with us tonight that are leading and have been leading the charge and bringing us some amazing stories from familiar universes for a long time. On our panel tonight, and I hope you'll all say hi as I introduce you, we have Dan Poole here tonight. Dan is the creator of The Green Goblin's Last Stand back in 1992.
Hello.
Hello. How you doing, Dan?
I'm great, thanks. Still feeling 21 years old, back when I made that sucker.
Oh, I'll tell you what. And it's endured. Dan's also an independent filmmaker. He's got films out there, The Photon Effect. His character, Photon, is in the Surge of Power Revenge of the Sequel with a nice all-star cast. We also have on the line, and I'm going to probably mispronounce this, so forgive me. We have Mike Sgroi. Is that right?
You got it. That's right.
All right, I did it right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if the applause is for Mike or if it's because I got it right. We'll call it a win either way. Mike is a producer with Iron Horse Productions, and they have the award-winning Star Wars fan film, Star Wars: The Lesser Evil. In 2015, they won the LucasArts Star Wars Fan Film Award. And so thank you for hanging with us tonight, Mike. We're glad you're here.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yes, sir. We also have on the line, we have Krystal Moore and Chris Phillips, who are responsible for producing Doctor Who Velocity.
Hello.
Hey, Chris. Krystal, are you there?
Yeah, we're here.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you guys so much for hanging with us tonight. You guys have created something really, really special. We can't wait to talk to you a little bit about that. And also on the line, we have James R. Terry is a fan fiction writer who, this is great. I love to introduce this because James is a fan fiction writer, but he writes fan fiction in a universe that was created as fan fiction. So he writes fan fiction in the Star Trek Intrepid universe. And his most recent short story is The Captain's Wife. It's available online. And thanks for hanging with us, James.
Thank you, and please call me Jim.
Okay, Jim. Thank you so much for hanging with us. Guys, I'll tell you what, for our people out there on Krypton Radio who are not familiar with it, although I can't imagine the sci-fi community not familiar with fan fiction, but can each one of you, we're going to kind of go around the room, we're going to kind of go around and get you to each tell us define fan fiction for us. What draws you, and tell us what draws you to it. Dan, what is fan fiction to you, and what brought you into this universe?
I collected comic books avidly, 14 titles a month, pretty much all Marvel, and every book was a movie waiting to be. You know, it was storyboarded, scripted. It was just.
It's just a movie waiting to happen.
It really was. I mean, you just needed some actors and props, something to shoot it with, and it just stirred my imagination all the time, and I kept wondering, why aren't they doing this? And it used to make me furious in the late 80s, early 90s when I was trying to do Spider-Man videos, and really I was doing them as a reel, trying to get it out to Stan Lee. Really what spurred me was an article he wrote saying they were trying to get a Spider-Man movie together. And I thought, oh my God, I got to be part of this. And people would belittle it. Oh, you're making that little Spider-Man video. And I'm like, man, you have no idea. And now, even though I'm not part of it, which is sad, everything Kevin Feige's done, everything Marvel Productions has done, I've just thrown my hands up like that. That's what was coming, you idiots. Everybody.
Yeah, but yeah,
you know what I mean?
Then again, because I want to talk about that later on too. What fan fiction has done to spur on our community and to get us where we are today too. Chris, you guys are doing a Doctor Who Velocity. It's a Doctor Who fan fiction online. We checked out those episodes today. Fantastic stuff. What is fan fiction to you? What does it mean to you? Why did you guys get into this?
Well, for me, it was it was kind of the technology of filmmaking and like digital kind of technology. When I was about 12, my kind of first special effect was I found a picture of the Spice Girls in Top of the Pops magazine, and they're standing with this guy, and I scanned my face in, and in Microsoft Paint, I put my face standing next to the Spice Girls. And then I knew anything is possible.
Nice, very nice. Now you guys did something in your fan fiction that
is that a new Spice, Old Spice there, right?
Yeah, there you go. Well, you guys did something in your Doctor Who Velocity that Doctor Who just announced that they were going to do in this coming up season, and that is you have given the Doctor a makeover, and we have a female Doctor on the internet in fan fiction already. So, what drove that decision? Was it something that you guys wanted to do before you heard that BBC was going to do it, or is it something that you guys?
I'll take this one. A couple of years ago, I've always been a Doctor Who fan anyway, and when they were going from Matt Smith to Capaldi, I thought, oh God, how funny would it be if, he regenerated into a female, and what kind of interesting, unique stories and circumstances would come out of that. And I kind of sat on it for a couple years, and I thought, oh sweet, yeah, let's do it. Let's do it, because they were, announced Capaldi was leaving. So we were ready to do it before, and then they announced that it was Jodie Whittaker, and I was so torn because I love Jodie Whittaker so much, and I also still wanted to be the first.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
technically you are.
Yeah, I was gonna say you guys got to the punch first again.
You were beautiful legs to match as well. I just must say.
And driven, you guys again. I think fan fiction. That's one of the powers it has is to drive forward in pop culture, because this is something you were working on and wanting to do for a couple of years, and it's once you think it up, once it's in the universe, once it's in the what they call the sort of that ethereal plane, everybody's going to grab it, and that's what happened here. So you guys put it out there, you put it in the Akashic field, and there it went. So Mike, Star Wars, wow.
Yes.
It's what. There have been hundreds of Star Wars fan films, but you guys made it to a level that was quite something. When you guys were making this film, did you ever think that you guys were going to be an award-winning fan film?
No, absolutely not. It was actually an idea that our other producer, Cy Cody White, who you spoke to earlier, had this idea. He wanted to do a Star Wars film, and we were just shooting it for ourselves. And coincidentally, we got word of they brought back the fan film competition for the convention that was coming up. And this was back in 2015. So we submitted it, and we submitted it with a minute left until the deadline. So
wow.
we were extremely lucky that we got it in on time.
Well, you guys are doing some amazing stuff over there. We were perusing through the Iron Horse YouTube channel, and it just so happens, and everybody out there on Krypton Radio who listens to the Hanging with Web Show Radio Hour knows our littlest Hanging with Web Show team member is Cosplay Michael. And you guys, he's our 7-year-old cosplayer. You guys are doing, or we have teasers up for 2 properties that Cosplay Michael would single-handedly fund, probably with my money if I let him. You have the FNAF live-action teaser and the Bendy and the Ink Machine live-action teaser, which are just fantastic, by the way. Fantastic stuff.
Thanks. Yeah, and we became friendly with the creator of Bendy and the Ink Machine, which is the Meatley and this other guy, Mike Mood, and they were super cool about letting us do the film. They said, as long as you give us credit, we love the fan fiction. And it kind of
the fan fiction community really does drive a lot. Jim, you are writing in the Star Trek universe. Your most recent, The Captain's Wife, which is writing in the Intrepid universe. So, what draws you into writing fan fiction? Why do you like this universe?
Well, basically, what happened was, the whole Intrepid thing started in 1978, way back. But basically, I started a Star Trek club called the USS Intrepid, which essentially the second Intrepid after the first one was destroyed in the original Star Trek series. By the giant amoeba, immunity syndrome, in 1967. I took that continuation and basically myself and a bunch of friends, I created a Star Trek club, which led through a lot of Sturm and Drang, created this large thing here, and then I had this whole bunch of characters I had at my disposal because we fleshed out the characters. We didn't create any quote-unquote Mary Janes. We just made everybody realistic. You could be Vulcan, Human, Tellaride, and Dorian, whatever you want to be. Just be realistic with your intention. So I kind of had to put things, kind of tone it down a little bit, bring it down here. And then it kind of grew and grew and grew to like several starships, several things like that. So the universe just built. And then we were going to be gearing for a fan film. And then, of course, these Star Trek rules, Paramount kind of put the clamp on it a little bit. So I kind of focused everything else on the fan fiction itself, staying within my universe. Mine and my friends' universe, essentially, that we created over the course of 40 years. So there's this vast, I have on my hard drive a vast resource I can pluck from, and plus I'm always creating new characters to fill in gaps that I need in certain places.
Well, that brings me to our next topic in the discussion. And Dan, you touched on this a little bit earlier, and that is what drives a fan film or fan films in general, which you were saying back in the day, there wasn't an MCU, there wasn't a DC film universe, there were hardly any television variations on these things. So
there was that Spidey, made for TV, the Nicholas Hammond stuff, and maybe the Incredible Hulk, and. And I think all of us, while we were excited, even in that era, we could also see that the effects were pretty limited. So it was bittersweet. It was like, oh, cool, they're trying, but.
Yeah, well, we were talking off before the show in the room here. We were kind of chatting about the fact that we just caught on YouTube. We just caught the original '70s Doctor Strange, and we were just kind of we didn't know what to say.
It was strange.
It was strange. He was kind of disco-fied. He had that 70s stash going. But it was But wow. Dan, you put a Spider-Man fan film together in that era, and even with the limitations of indie filmmaking, and you were doing this way before computers, way before Premiere and Final Cut. You were putting this together on VHS.
Yep. Fun times.
Wow,
you guys don't know how good you got it over there.
Oh man. Oh my Lord. Let's talk a little bit about that, guys. How far has fan filmmaking come? In that, it's almost 30 years. Sorry, Dan, we're outing you.
That's fine. I don't feel it. I don't act it. Ask my kids.
There you go. What tools? What in your filmmaking? Because you're still an indie filmmaker, right, Dan? So you're still out there doing your thing.
Yep.
What are the major changes that you've seen to the tools of indie filmmaking now and fan filmmaking? What have you added to your repertoire as you've grown?
Back then, I could spend hours telling you how tough it was. I mean, but back in my day,
when he was walking to school uphill both ways.
Well, here's an example. Jimmy Kinsler and I, Jimmy played the Green Goblin, and we didn't have a sound department. It was bare bones, man. It was just a 1/2-inch camcorder, which you want to feel old. I walked into the Smithsonian a couple of years ago, and there was my friggin' camcorder behind the glass. As soon as you walk in the door, I was like, son of a bitch.
Wow.
That'll make you feel. That'll put a wrinkle in your forehead, man. But anyway, we had to dub some dialogue because it just wasn't clean, and it was unusable. So we were under moving blankets in front of his TV, play and record at the same time to dub, or was it dub and play at the same time to record our voices, and while we watched and did tried to loop it in a makeshift studio. So what I've added over the years is a Sennheiser microphone, an XLR cable.
That was ADR the hard way, man.
Yeah.
Say
some lights. Lights were a nice luxury we didn't really have. I mean, it was rough going. So now everybody's got a.
Krystal and Chris, you guys did. We were checking out the episodes on YouTube earlier, and we noticed. Chris, you talked a little bit about those early days, using Microsoft Paint to put your face on the Spice Girls, but the digital work that you guys are doing is fantastic. Now we caught your opening credit sequence. You guys have created a TARDIS. You've created a real Doctor Who feel.
Thanks.
What have in the time since you first got the idea that you were going to do this fan fiction? Are there any new tools or techniques that have become available that have really helped you get started?
Yeah, well, I've been making. I'm showing my age now as well. I started making films on VHS tapes as well, and I've done a fair bit of VHS dubbing in my time as well. So things have just drastically changed. You can. For a few dollars now, you can get equipment that would have cost $100,000 like 20 years ago. It's just the quality difference and the kind of accuracy of just digital editing and all that kind of stuff. Makes it so you can construct your story. But also, I think there's so much more online now, like tutorials, YouTube tutorials. Like if there's a special effect that I want to do, but I don't really know quite how to do it, there's 5 or 6 guys have already done that online in other projects, and you can, go watch the tutorial and see how they do it. Yeah. And also, our approach to making the Doctor Who fan film was to just get it done as fast as possible, and sort of cheat as much as possible. So, the 3D models, in the title sequence are from other websites. There's websites where you can just download a 3D TARDIS, download a Dalek.
It's an amazing world that's out there now. We were actually working with a film company out of LA to put together a proof of concept for a film project, and so many of the assets that we needed were someone had already thought up and somebody had already created and made available on places like Pond 5 and these other video sites. Speaking of digital effects, Mike, you got lightsaber battles, man.
Yeah.
You guys, you got some, and I mean, pretty high speed, really, top-notch lightsaber battles there. How long have you been producing fan fiction and these indie projects, and how difficult was it to throw yourself into this world? Again, you won the Fan Film Award that was, like you said, you guys were just doing this to kind of have fun. And oops, there you go, award-winning film. So how difficult was it to get those things to that level with what you had to work with?
Yeah, it really started. We started in 2010, and we were doing just indie films, not even fan films. And we wanted to put out a feature film independently called Kingdom Come. And it had action and stuff like that. And we thought, well, if people are going to watch our film, maybe we have to make it relatable to something. So we ended up making a Call of Duty fan film and saying, hey, if you like Call of Duty, well, we have this independent project coming out. And it didn't really hit the mark like we wanted to. And then once the video game The Last of Us came out, we saw it and we said, wow, we can make this. We can do a fan film and try to go at this again. You know, we have an actor, Jeff Moffitt, who's our other producer. He kind of looks like the main character. We knew there were some abandoned places nearby where we live in New Jersey we can check out. And we did some practical effects with the clickers who are like the zombies in the game. But then that got about 500,000 views, and it was on like World Star Hip Hop. It was on IGN, saw it and picked it up. And eventually we thought, why don't we try our hand at fan films? And somebody had approached us actually it was Jeff Moffitt's son, Ryan. We were at MagFest, this video game convention down in the DC, Baltimore area. And he said, there's this game that everybody loves called Five Nights at Freddy's, and you should do a fan film based on that. And that's kind of how we just stuck with the fan. We got millions of views on these Freddy projects, and Cody White is an amazing editor and does effects. And like we were saying before, you can watch tutorials online, and there's 3D models online. And I started teaching myself. I mean, I was in high school using SVHS to edit, and now this can all be done digitally, like we've been saying, and you can teach yourself how to do these effects. There's a lightsaber plugin that helps you make through Video Copilot. You can make your own lightsaber effects so much easier now.
Wow.
So it's really that growth.
It really is. It's fantastic. Now, Jim, in the writing world, obviously technology has changed a lot about getting your work out, and particularly the distribution model, because you can take your fan fiction, short stories, and others, and publish online, and distribute short stories in a way that you really never could just even a decade ago. Reasonably. So what have been the major changes that you've seen in terms of technology and distribution models helping fan fiction spread across the community?
Well, one thing I've seen is basically a lot of, the fact that there's a lot of self-publishing sites out there. There's a lot more of them, many of which are fan-friendly, to any genre, Star Wars, Doctor Who, MCU, DCU, etc. And you can literally just and the one I'm using, which is, to me, that had the interfaces have gotten so much easier, not so clunky, and don't have these, that you don't have to go through a flaming hoop to get things. And also the improvements in the word processor, which I use to write the fan fiction. I use Microsoft Office, the version of Word, to do all the basic, writing and editing, so I can turn it into it's kind of mishmash of words into something readable. And then I just do some basic artwork to kind of accompany it, so some of my readers can have a visual to accompany whatever it is they're reading, even if it's a small visual. And then with that, I use Photoshop and Graphic Converter and a couple other little things.
Some writing with some indie comic fan fiction as well, don't you?
Yeah, the Star Trek Eagle fan film, which is based out in Germany, if I remember correctly, asked me to basically, they wanted to use one of my main character, Captain Sarek, which has been essentially the character I created 40 years ago. Yes, I'm outing myself also. So what I did was, if you want to use it, also what I created for him was the crew of the Intrepid, the original Intrepid back in 2265, 66 essentially. So and give him the basic that, and also I also gave the Star Trek Eagle basically some models, some simple models of the crew of the Intrepid, and then I gave them names. And then I got a little co-credit with that. And also, about a year or so ago, I worked with Starship Saladin, a combat book who recently did a couple fan films on their own, based out back east somewhere. I forget which, and I apologize in advance for that. I did an audio drama with him. I co-wrote the script with several other fan film makers, including Starship Saladin, Star Trek Antilles, Eagle, previously mentioned, and a couple others, from the various different generations. I recorded my voice, sent it to, the guy in charge, and then let him do it, and then just, got the final product back, essentially like, oh, this is nice, So again, I'm doing a lot of collaborations with other people, crossing over.
Yeah,
and
well, that's actually a really interesting thing about this, the fan fiction community today, is we have on the line right now creators from all over the country tonight here on the show.
Yes, and you know what? Even with creators, the mediums might have changed, but sometimes what they play with hasn't.
Yeah.
Chris had mentioned that he, used paint to put his face in with the Spice Girls, but I happen to know that just within this last week, he photoshopped Michael Gove's face on the head of a fish, so he is still putting faces in things.
He is still putting faces in things. Yes. Nice.
You got to stay true to your roots.
You do. You do. So, we have the location is something that's amazing about the fan fiction community because they're everywhere. We're talking to people online right now from the Midwest, from out west, from here on the East Coast. And, the days when you had to, be, in L.A., in New York, in Atlanta right now, which is the new Hollywood for the United States right now. They just surpassed Hollywood in the amount of content they're putting out. Those days are kind of a memory. You can do fan fiction. You can do this work anywhere where you have the creativity and the drive and the support community around you. So, Dan, from those early days, we know one advance that's been made is saving mileage on tires, because in 1992, the only way to get this film into the imaginations of fans was to drive or fly everywhere. And today we have this little thing called the internet.
Yeah, thanks, Al Gore. What a contribution. What a guy.
Nice.
I sent mine to a magazine called Hero Illustrated. They were in Chicago, and I remember reading an issue, and they had the top 10 best comic book based movies at the time. I guess it was 91, 92, whatever. And I said, hey, you missed one. I literally sent them a letter. I said, hey, you missed one. I sent it in. And the next month, they actually added an article about it. I was blown away. I was like, oh, my God, we're in print. Look at this. Oh, the world's going to open up. Oh, this is my ticket, man.
Wow.
It was pretty neat. It was very cool. And then actually people that did read about it, that one tape that I sent, that germinated into hundreds that went from convention to convention to convention. I have had calls. I still get emails to this day. I get emails from people that have just obviously now they see it online, like you said. But
well, we want to remind everybody when we post the show here on Krypton Radio, and as we post it for download later on, we're going to make sure that we have the websites and everything for all of our creators, in the description, so that you guys can find them on the web and you can see some. These are amazing projects, really. They are. And from all corner of fandom, I'm kind of going through my questions because you're answering them before I can ask them, which I really like.
Well, I have a question.
Yes, please.
I would like to know from each of you in turn what was one of the most unique or the most fun standout moment that you had creating your fan fiction.
I can answer that immediately.
All right, well, first, wait a minute. We have a big panel, so tell us who you are.
Dan Poole.
Dan Poole. Dan Poole is on the line.
When I finally got it in gear and decided I had to impress James Cameron, and I really wanted to put something better than the couple that I'd done in the late 80s, we got together the Green Goblin mask, which my friend Eric Sapensky sculpted and got in latex and stuff. And, I mean, that was an amazing accomplishment. But I'll never forget looking through the viewfinder up at the Green Goblin, who was holding Gwen Stacy over the ledge of that building. And that's when this just feeling of amazement rushed through me. I stepped back for a second, and I just looked at my buddy who was helping me shoot it, Ray, and I said, oh, my God, look what we're doing. Oh, my God, we're bringing it to life, because you just hadn't. I think that's what fan fiction is. Like, you ache to see your characters doing something else and more often than Hollywood can crank them out, or back in my day at all. So it was really, really wild. It was really, really cool to stand there and look up and think, oh my God, we're actually starting to pull this off. That was pretty cool.
Wow. Okay, so we'll kind of just go right down the list then. Chris, what moment stands out for you as you guys are putting together Velocity? What moment is sort of your awesome moment?
There's so many fun moments, but I think for me personally, because we sort of like built this center console for the inside of the TARDIS, and in real life, like any prop, it looks crap. It's total crap. It's white foam board. It's very good geometry, but it's ugly, you know. And so there's no real knowing how cool that's going to look until Chris works his magic. So in that first moment I saw that scene, you know, in the inside of the TARDIS, and that center console that I had made was there, and it looked cool, and it had lights on it, and the whole inside was just big and vast and open and clean, just like everything and more than I had ever imagined.
That was a cool choice. That was a really cool choice, by the way, as we were watching Velocity. I thought that was one of the neatest choices, was to give the TARDIS that beautiful, open, you know, white room feel.
Well, she's going to be practical, you know.
Well, I was about to say, I think you and I and Chris had talked earlier about this, and he said, what if one day, you know, because in the reboot, we've always seen how industrial or how gaudy or how unique or mechanical the TARDIS is, kind of taking its own characteristic. But what if one day the Doctor said, just, you know what, forget it. It's just going to be clean. There's nothing else going to be in here. No chairs, no nothing. You know, maybe one chair or something like that. And we're just like, you know, I don't even have to clean this up now. So,
well, I'm just saying,
you know, make it all clear out.
On YouTube, we've had a female Doctor for 3 episodes. That's at 3. And she has cleaned the house. She has completely got rid of everything. She's redecorated the TARDIS. It's pretty cool.
If I'm the Doctor, it's going to be clean. That's for sure.
That's fantastic. Mike, you got so much fan fiction out there, man. Can you pick one cool moment? What was a moment when you just felt like, man, this is really working? This is awesome.
Yeah, there are a lot, but when we got that award for the Star Wars film, they had told us, you know, come out to the convention, you're going to win an award, but we didn't know what we were going to win. And they went through the whole list of awards, and there was a fan voting award, and we thought that was the biggest one. So we told everybody to vote. So they went through the whole list. We were nominated for like special effects, and you know, we thought the fan vote was the biggest one. We're like, well, we want to win that one, you know. So we didn't get anything for special effects. They went through all the awards, and then this other film, which wasn't even completed yet, actually won. The fans got to pick their favorite, and then they're like, and now the big winner here to present via video is Kathleen Kennedy. And they play a video of Kathleen Kennedy saying that she picked our film as her favorite, and we won it was called the Spirit Award. And, you know, even though we almost thought they made a mistake, but when they went, like, why are we here? We didn't get anything. And then they played that video. And, I mean, we just hit the roof, and it was like, you know, what are the chances? What are the odds? And that made us really believe, hey, you know, we're capable of doing something. You know, these ideas that you can't achieve this or that or whatever are false. You know, you just got to do it. And that was got to be the biggest thrill of our career doing fan film so far. You know,
that's fantastic. Jim, as a fan fiction writer, do you have a moment that stands out in your mind when you just, you know, it just felt right, man? The oh my gosh moment.
Basically when I feel that whatever I've written is finally edited the way it looks good, then the artwork that accompanies it, it's like it's done. Actually, and also the positive reaction from the fans, you know, who like my work apparently, was I thinking I'm writing drivel sometimes, but you know, I get a lot of positive reactions, and that's what you know, saying good job, thank you, this is cool, etc. That's what makes me feel good. You know, the positive fan reactions from my work,
There's nothing quite like it, and this is such an overwhelmingly welcoming community that we have here in the fandom, the geekdom. Is a very welcoming community, and it's amazing to see so much fantastic fan fiction and how accepted it is in this community. It's not trite. It's not small. And again, we have about 10 minutes left. So the last thing I want to hit y'all with is, what do you think that whether it's your fan fiction or other fan fiction that you have participated in or watched or read, what do you think the impact of fan fiction has been to our community and to bringing what was niche culture? Just, again, I'll date myself. Since tonight the show was brought to you by Ensure. We've all dated ourselves. So
brought to you by Depends.
40
It works. Sometimes it doesn't. Depends.
40 years ago, we were niche culture. You could go to a specific convention, a specific place for your particular niche in science fiction or in fantasy or in television or movies. Today, in every state, in every place in the U.S. and around the world, we are pop culture. We're the biggest and baddest thing out there. Do you think that fan fiction and our ability to put out work, as Dan said, faster and with more depth than they can do in the mass media level, has that had an impact on driving pop culture forward? Let's go ahead, Dan. What do you think?
Absolutely, 100%. And I know for a fact Sandy Kalura's Batman Dead End influenced the whole Christopher Nolan series.
Oh yeah.
They invited him. No, they invited him. He told me this personally. They invited him up there and they grilled him for hours about how he did everything. And then
the ultimate compliment for a fan filmmaker is when Hollywood calls and says, "Hey, how the hell did you do that?"
Exactly.
That's fantastic, man.
You're seeing, flashes, back on TV, and I love the '80s series. But yeah, it's Marvel's on Netflix. Yes, I think the interest that all of us fan filmmakers over the years have. I mean, we've proved it. It's supply and demand, and they're listening, and they're like, shit, they want to see stuff all the time. Let's go. They'll watch. They're waiting.
Absolutely, Krystal, Chris. You guys have 3 episodes right now of Doctor Who Velocity. What are your hopes for the future, and do you hope to have an impact on the culture, and where do you see things going?
Yeah, so we have the first episode out, and the second and third ones are coming out really soon. We're just finishing them at the moment. I think, especially with Doctor Who, the kind of fan film and kind of fan fiction stuff was quite responsible for bringing it back. The kind of new Who, because the fans, really liked it, and that kind of, brought the show back. And there's been many years of audio adventures and radio plays and kind of fan films that were made, and that kind of interest, I think, got the BBC thinking, we can bring it back. So
it's great. It's again wonderful. One of those great moments in being a fan fictionalist is to know that BBC and the big networks are looking out, going, well, if they can do it, so can we.
Yeah. We're enjoying actually being out ahead of kind of what we're copying. You know what I mean? We've got the female Doctor out already, and even our regeneration scene, we shot that before we'd seen theirs, and their one was actually quite similar to ours, which was really funny.
That's pretty cool.
So we're trying to push the show. We've got, as a fan fiction maker, you've got the luxury of pushing the property harder than perhaps the official ones would want. They don't want too much controversy, so we can kind of poke those kind of things a bit harder than they can. So that's great.
It was actually great to see you out in your opening scene of episode 1, where you hit it. You attack the issue of a female doctor right from line 1. I'm here to see him. And then the door slams, and you're just like, oh, wait a minute. So that was actually really cool. You guys hit the big issue of the day with Doctor Who fans, and you hit it like, in the very first line. We're going to get this out of the way, so all y'all can stop, debating it. It's here. Here I am. I'm the new Doctor, which was a really cool thing to see Krystal do.
I got a question for Krystal.
Yeah.
Krystal, being that this is going to be the first time that the gender is swapped, and be amongst the Whoniverse, a lot of the fans are kind of in disarray because you have classic Who people from 1960s have grown up who the Doctor's been male, it's been a guy the whole time, it should stay a male, and then you have people who have, like myself and people today, who've kind of either evolved or open to the idea of a female Doctor. Being kind to the people who are trying from the past, who are used to and been accommodated to a male persona, what would you say as a message to them to try to incorporate and try to bring them up and say, hey, this is a good thing, and this is an important thing to those Whovian fans?
Well, I think that the main thing in any good story and any good character is the humanity in it. That humanity is universal. It isn't male or female. And I think it's important to recognize that people, men and women, have never really known what to do with a beautiful woman who is also smart and sexual and powerful. It's too much power. They can't handle it. Mm-hmm. And I kind of want to say, fuck off.
Garrett has that same problem.
I do. There's too much female power in my house.
He doesn't know what to do.
Yes. No. That's actually really cool. Mike, we're gonna the last word over here to Mike. Mike Sgroi, the producer of Star Wars, The Lesser Evil, and other productions, indie fan film productions. Mike, how do you think that fan fiction has driven our culture and pop culture, and what's next? We just going to keep on doing it, and what's the outcome? What's the end game for fan fiction? Are we just going to be able to put out enough content to quench the thirst of a very hungry viewer and reader?
It kind of just keeps pushing the envelope of what the main properties have to do with their movies, and you can see the expansion of where now content can be viewed with now Netflix and Amazon and all these streaming services. So you're no longer relegated to just TV networks. And I don't know where it goes. It just keeps expanding. But I think doing the fan fiction, what's important, I should add, actually, is having these major properties allowing the fan fiction to continue without them calling people out for violating copyright laws. I mean, I think even maybe this was not accurate, but I thought J.J. Abrams kind of put the stoppage to the people who were doing the Star Trek film, and they were getting sued by CBS, and J.J. Abrams said, what are you doing? These are our fans. These are the people who come and pay money to watch our work. Why would you, give them a hard time? So needless to say, I think these fan films are a way for fans to be a part of the world. I don't know if I could ever be involved in Star Wars on a professional level. I'd love to, but at least for a small moment, I did get to be a part of it, and they keep our film on their website. So even in the tiniest corner of Star Wars, I got to be a part of it. And I think that's what's really important, that allows the fans to keep coming to the movies and pushing for movies like Black Panther. And
it is, and especially this community. Mike, you hit it right on the head, because I think really in this community right now, fan fiction is an example of, as media changes, as the internet changes the way we consume media, one of the things that continues to evolve is how much we want to interact with our media, whether it be in social media with people or our favorite actors or actresses, or in creating ourselves a piece of our media. And fan fiction is the ultimate interaction. It's the ultimate love letter to a universe that you love. Jim, we got time for one quick answer from you.
Okay.
in the Star Trek universe, and you've been a part of that universe for 40 years, do you think fan fiction has driven the franchise forward, and do you think that it's been a good thing? And where do you think it's going next?
Well, let's see. I mean, we have the J.J. Abrams Star Trek, as well as the new Discovery series on CBS All Access, and again, Star Trek is a very interesting animal. It can be everything. So we've got a whole variety of things to do it with. But, definitely is always going forward. People are trying new things, like new characters, something that's not been seen before. So it's always going forward, always evolving, as do the fans, hopefully. Some don't, some do. It's their choice. But it's always going forward, and I think that, and I try and push myself as best I can as well to keep everything going. And I hope that my little stuff inspires other people to say, hey, I can do this. Because we're all fans in the end.
Well, and we all refer to the world building that is done in science fiction and fantasy. We refer to it as a universe. So there's a Star Trek universe, and a Star Wars universe, and an Aliens universe, and a Doctor Who universe, and a Marvel cinematic universe, and now an expanded DC and Marvel universe. And because it's a universe, it means it's infinitely deep. And what you guys are bringing to the table is that depth, the character behind the character, the new thing. So I think that's fantastic. Thank you guys so much for being on. Christian, what do you think, man? We could probably do 2 more hours on fan fiction. These guys are great.
Well, not only that, I think and you see this at conventions now. I think this is the new evolution of conventions. Not only are you seeing fan representation, but you're also seeing, well, first of all, if you're a fan of one thing, most likely you're a fan of another. So if you like Doctor Who, you probably like Star Wars. Or if you like Star Wars, you'll probably like Star Trek. Or if you like Star Trek, you like Stargate or something to that nature. But not only that, and you see
well, if you're at a convention, I guarantee you like something that has the word star in it.
Yeah, exactly. But, with Doctor Who, too. And if you see that, you're starting to see an interaction, and let me put it in this perspective. In like a game like football, you have the fans on either side of the aisle. They're rooting for their own team. They have no regard for the other team. They're booing and hissing at the other team. But what's happening on the convention floor is now something that's totally different. You're seeing Dr. Peter Venkman standing right next to the Doctor, standing right next to Captain Kirk, who are being chased by a Cyberman with a broom.
Oh, yeah.
Or a hockey stick, or something like that.
Wow, that was like last Saturday night. He just described my entire weekend. See what I'm saying? This is
kind of scaring me.
Yeah, it is. It's such a cool
it's something
thing.
that, it's an incredibly cool thing, because now people, instead of being on either side of the aisle, like on a football game, they're sharing their passions with each other. They're sharing their fan ideas, and they're mingling, and they're saying to each other, I can like what you've got, and I want to explore what you do.
Yeah, it is. It's amazing. We have to wrap it up, folks. We have had an amazing panel tonight. We really have. Thank you so much to Dan Poole, the producer of The Green Goblin's Last Stand. Thank you to Krystal Moore and Chris Phillips, the producers of Doctor Who Velocity. Thank you very much to Mike Sgroi, the producer of Star Wars, The Lesser Evil, and the FNAF live-action movie, the Bendy and the Ink Machine live-action movie, and we just saw a teaser a little while ago for Dora the Explorer, a really dark version. Really cool. And we also want to thank Jim Terry for being with us, a fan fiction writer, whose most recent work includes The Captain's Wife, which is available online. We're going to try to let you guys know about all of that stuff on our Facebook page and in the description here of the episode tonight. Thank you guys so much for hanging with us.
It's been a pleasure hanging with all you guys.
Thank you so much. We want to thank our partners and friends at Famous Faces and Funnies Off the Chain with Yvonne Mason, our great friends here at Krypton Radio, our friends over at Space Coast Comics. These are the people who help share these radio episodes all over the web. They share our daily video interviews all over the web. We couldn't be more grateful for all of them, and of course all of our featured artists, authors, and creators. They support the show. They keep us going, so we're very grateful for them. I'm GW Pomacher, and I'm here with...
I'm Christian Basil.
That's right, Christian Basil. And we're here tonight with...
Sage Ia.
And, of course, back behind the control room is Dina Marie, and she's doing a great job. Round of applause for Dina. Ready? There it is. Oh, very good. Okay, awesome. So, guys, remember, everybody, keep coming back. Log on. Tune in. See who we're hanging with next.